30s, the dangerous era, Michael.
Guys, I'm going to
Um,
stop us. I'm sorry, it wasn't recording. So we're going to do it
oh
again. I
wow, no worries,
apologize. So
no
No worries.
sorry,
worries.
guys. I just realized, like, is this recording? What the heck is going on? Okay, one more time. Kevin, you got to knock it out again. Sorry, guys.
All right, in three, two. Hello, you're tuned in to another episode of The Vintage House Show on WNUR FM 89.3 and HD1, WNUR.org, and on Facebook Live and Twitch.tv, The Vintage House Show. My name is Kevin Mega McFall, and we've got a unique and incredible episode of The Vintage House Show for you tonight. Normally, our focus is being the on-air premier radio show and podcast dedicated to illuminating and preserving the lives, music, careers, and the history of house music pioneers. We're powered by the Modern Dance Music Research and Archiving Foundation, which is the only repository in the United States dedicated solely to the study, preservation, and the celebration of the genres of house and dance music. Our mission, in short, is to preserve the memories and the memorabilia that support the sustainability of the culture. As I mentioned, tonight is a special episode. We're not deviating far from that mission. In fact, we're going to be celebrating one of the great shows on and off Broadway right now. And I'm going to turn it over to executive producer, super duper executive producer, as I like to call her, Lauren Lowry, to introduce our guests tonight.
Thank you, Kevin. Everyone, welcome to the Vintage House Show. We have two wonderful special guests. We're highlighting Broadway in Chicago and MJ the Musical, and two of its stars, Brandon Lee Harris and Jamaal Fields Green. They are really doing a wonderful job of sharing the history of Michael Jackson and his impact on music and Black music, American music, and global celebrity. So Brandon Lee Harris, a Chicagoan. Talk to us quickly about your
Of
role in MJ the Musical and a little bit about your Chicago heritage.
of course. So in the musical, I play Michael. Throughout the show, you see three iterations of Michael. You see a little Michael, you see middle Michael, which is my role, and that's about age 16 to 22, 23 Michael. And then you see 1992, 32-year-old MJ. And the show takes place the last 2 days of rehearsal for the Dangerous World Tour. MTV is there, and they are doing a report about Michael and his life and his artistry and this tour. And throughout the show, MJ just kind of goes throughout his life. You see the high points, you see the low points, you see his relationship with his family, you see the relationship with Motown, you see him coming into his own, becoming an independent artist, carving out the legacy that we all know now. And my history as a Chicagoan, West Side of Chicago, born and raised over by Augusta Park. I went
West
to
Side.
West Side house, baby. But went to A.M. Pritzker Elementary in Wicker Park. Shout out to Wildcats. Lincoln Park High School. Shout out to Lions. And yeah, I love my city, and I'm so glad to be opening the show and starting this tour off in such a beautiful place that is so special to me.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Jamaal, talk to
Welcome.
us a little bit about your role in the show. And then it sounds like when I look at your bio, you spent some time in Chicago. So talk to us about New York, talk to us about Chicago, how you feel about it, etc.
Totally, totally. So I play MJ. That is basically adult MJ, as Brandon said. That covers the Dangerous Tour era MJ when he was 32, and basically he is the one that kind of takes us down the road of his life and his impact while he's being interviewed by MTV. Um, and that's basically my role in the show, is just older MJ. I'm from New York, the Bronx, New York originally. Uh, yeah, I spent some time out here in Chicago doing Hamilton. I was Lawrence Phillip in the Chicago Company of Hamilton from 2018 to 2020. I lived in the South Loop. Chicago was kind of like my second home, so I love the city. So I too am happy that we're opening this tour here in Chicago. There's no place like Chicago.
That's awesome. Kevin, I'll
That's
let
what's
send it
up.
to you.
That's what's up. Again, welcome to you both, and thank you for spending time with us on the Vintage House Show. Of course, there is a there's a tight connection between Michael Jackson, MJ the musical specifically, and the house music scene and community here in Chicago. Of course, we are a neighboring town to where MJ grew up in Gary, Indiana. But what's particularly special for us as members of the house music community is that many of Michael Jackson's songs have been touched with this this house flavor, right? Sprinkled across it with remixes and re-edits of Michael Jackson's songs. And the musical that you're performing, certainly it being here and kicked off in Chicago, can you talk about what you felt in being here and any of what you felt? What's that connection been for you to the home of house music?
I can start. Yeah. So you know, growing up in Chicago, I grew up on house music. I love house music. I love dance music as a whole. And this show highlights Michael's vocal ability, his musicality, but it definitely, I don't want to say more than anything.
Good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started with the They Don't Care About
Sorry,
Us.
one second.
Involved in the They Don't Care About Us thriller, Grammy Box. Please make your way to the stage.
What is that, by the way?
Awesome. That is our intercom for just calls. Like,
I see.
For stage call. That's cool.
Yeah.
We're in it. We're in it, folks.
Exactly.
In the room.
But yes, it showcases his musicality, him as a vocalist, him as a creative, but it definitely showcases his dance and where all of his dancing comes from, all of his dance heroes, the different styles of dance. And I think that's really the connection that for me, especially when it comes to house music is such a feeling. It's not necessarily always based in what is quote law unquote when it comes to music. And I think Michael, in the way that his style is the same way that house music feels to me. It's yeah.
I love that. Jamaal, you want to touch upon that?
I mean, I think he answered that pretty much on the dot. But I will say I'll just add on to the feeling as he was talking about house music. I got into house music a little later in life, like around high school. But similar with MJ, a lot of his influences and just the way that he approached music and the way that he performed music, it was all feeling to him. And I feel like that correlation with house music, with it being more so a feeling more than anything, it's a really cool connection.
You're both of you, thank you for that perspective. It is a very frequent saying. I won't even call it common, but frequent, that house is in fact a feeling, and it brings people together around being inclusive and feeling like you belong. And as individuals playing this iconic pop star who on occasion, you know, was and had to be because of his level of fame, very insular. You know, what happens? I would imagine, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but what happens when you go on stage and you take on this character? Because there's certainly an outward manifestation of the feeling through dance, through the vocals, all of it, that is very extroverted in what we see as the public. So talk a little bit about taking on that character, if you will.
I would say that there's a lot that comes with it, you know, pressure, of course. Is one of the biggest, if not the biggest icon of all time when it comes to music and specifically our culture, Black culture. He's one of our biggest, you know. So I would say there's pressure, but there's a lot of adrenaline, butterflies, excitement. Uh, I mean, you know, for me, I'm portraying one of my biggest inspirations. So with that comes an assortment of different feelings. But I would say the right when you're about to start, it's just a wave of adrenaline and honestly, for me, I guess excitement and happiness. But I do believe that there's a certain level of attention and respect that has to be given when portraying this, because at the end of the day, we're not portraying a character, we're portraying someone that actually lived, and we have the responsibility and the opportunity to uphold his legacy, you know. So like I said, with that comes a lot of different feelings, but uh it's cool, it's great, it's enticing, it's uh heartwarming, fulfilling, all of that, honestly.
That's a powerful response. I'm interested in also hearing from you, Brandon.
Yeah, I think Jamaal said a lot of things that I agree with wholeheartedly. It's such an honor in itself to just be a part of the select few that get to portray this man in this show and in the way that we do it. I think for me, where I am in my life and in my own career and my own artistry, I relate to the parts of Michael's life that I'm portraying a lot, just in terms of just becoming independent and carving out something that is your own. But also too, even above that, I mean, this show is hard, yes, but it is so much joy. Like it brings me so much joy to do it, so much joy to sing it, so much joy to dance it. Like it is the way that I connect with it. I know that the stage and performing was Michael's happy place, and for me, it is also my happy place. So, yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, that is powerful. So, guys, I mean, yeah, thanks so much for talking to us about this. I think, very personal sort of discussion around both yourself and how you embody this character. On our show, what we do is we bring on the pioneers of house music and really talk to them about themselves, who their influences were, who their influences are. Because oftentimes, when you talk about some of the DJs, they're just playing. We don't know who they are as people. We don't know sometimes who their influences are. We interview everyone, including the bouncers from back in the day and the property owners from back in the day. And again, we don't know those people all the time. So we don't get to know them as much as we would like to. So this show sort of uncovers some of that and unpacks some of that. So thanks for answering those questions that way. But I'm going to bring it back to a little bit to Chicago and performing in Chicago. I think, Brandon, you are, definitely a little younger, but talk to me about performing in Chicago, becoming an artist from Chicago. How did that develop and influences here, music influences here as well? And then Jamaal, I'll go to you.
Absolutely. Growing up musically, my house was like a melting pot. My dad played everything, jazz, house music, folk, like R&B, pop, everything that he grew up and found when he was in the army for a couple of years. And so he traveled the world and heard things that he'd never heard before. His musical palette was large, and he gifted that to me and my other siblings. My other siblings are also musicians and singers as well. So my mom is a singer. We grew up in the house full of music. And obviously in that was definitely Michael. Michael is my biggest inspiration. We share a birthday. He's the reason why I got into theater. Like he is definitely my number one. And so my earliest memories of creating music was with my family, and it was because we saw the Jackson 5. It was because we watched the Jacksons and American Dream, things like that. So growing up in Chicago and knowing that this is what I wanted to do, I've honestly been doing this for For a very long time, like I started writing my own music at like 8, 9 years old. I started recording myself on our little PC, and my little Logitech headset mic, like in early like seventh, eighth grade. I put out my first project, full of like a body of work of songs that I wrote, songs that I recorded, did with my brothers, in the middle of high school. Like this has always been something that I've wanted to do. And I spent a lot of time, especially during high school, trying to like hone in on doing that. One second. Yes. Hey, Jason. Yes. I'm in an interview. But okay, thank you. So sorry, everybody.
That's okay.
But yeah, I spent a lot of high school, trying to perform around the city. I did Music Garage. I performed at the Gospel Fest in Chicago
Yeah.
a couple years back. I did the Taste of Chicago with some friends a couple years back. I obviously, I did choir throughout high school and things like that. So, and with that, there was a lot of influences. Michael, like I've said, but Stevie Wonder, Michael Franks is a jazz artist.
Love
Love,
Michael Parsons.
I have his lyrics tattooed on my wrist. Yeah, my dad played him like that. That was what it was. Yeah, and yeah, it's honestly, it's been such a full circle moment for me, because I do, like, when I went away to school, I went to school in Boston, I went to Berkeley. When I went away, I definitely at the time felt like I had outgrown my space in Chicago, and I had done all that I could do. And I think that being back here now with this show, with something this big, with something this special, it taught me that it's a mental thing. Like I didn't outgrow Chicago. My mind had outgrown Chicago, and now I'm back with a new mindset. And I feel so refreshed and so inspired by my home and my city. So yeah, I think I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but yes, I hope
No, that was perfect. I mean, I think when we think about sort of the DJs here in Chicago who created house music, many of them flourished overseas and stayed overseas.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Came back and did, sort of rejuvenize themselves and
Yeah.
created larger careers. So I think that makes perfect sense. Jamaal, talk to me about sort of your influences, as a young person to today as it pertains to music and Black music.
Totally. So I grew up in a single parent household, but still a full house. So I grew up with my grandparents and my cousins and aunts and uncles. So my grandfather and I are very, very close, and he played all the music from his time. So it's kind of the same thing as Brandon. I lived in a melting pot of musical influences in the house. Stevie Wonder, The Temptations. I'm a big Sam Cooke fan. Um, uh, just to name a few of the Supremes, the OJs. And growing up in the Bronx, funny enough, I used to do You Rock My World, Beat It, and Thriller for my family in our living room when I was like 4 or 5 years old.
Wow.
And my grandfather was my DJ. I'd have him cue the music, and I'd be like, "Play it," and then I would start going. Um, and then as I got older, I've always had my musical palette. I've always kind of leaned on towards the music of that time, of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and the 80s. And as I got older, I didn't really get into theater until really college. I started pretty late. I played a lot of sports growing up. I went through puberty, so I lost my voice. So I used to sing a lot for fun as a kid, but I went through puberty, so I thought I couldn't sing anymore. My friends and I were going to have a rap group. We took a music class because it was open to us in high school. My friend signed us up as a joke for the play, and I ended up getting a lead. And from there, someone saw something in me and brought it to my mom's attention. Was like, if you took this serious enough, you can do it for the rest of his life. I got a coach, Um, Auditioned for the top schools in the country. I got into University of Hartford up in Connecticut. Went there for 4 years, and then when I graduated, I booked Hamilton, which brought me out to Chicago. And the crazy thing about that was that being in Chicago, I actually grew and discovered myself as a person, but also as an artist. So this city has a really nostalgic hold for me. Um, and I performed throughout Chicago. I performed at the Basement, Promontory. I did Lollapalooza back in
Yes.
2019. Um, where else? I've done Bordel. I've done a bunch of spots throughout Chicago. So Chicago, and I was able to grow and kind of find my artistry while I was here. Um, so yeah, so my influences and just everything has kind of been spread out throughout the course of my life. But yeah.
Hey, can I quickly just ask you to expand on your Lala experience? How was that? What were you doing at Lala? And how did you
Whew.
feel? What was the crowd? What was that like?
It was crazy. It was crazy. It was 2019. Doing Hamilton at the time. That's when it was. It's Hamilton is still Hamilton, but that's when it was really at the height of the hype.
Right.
Um, so you could just say it, and people would just their eyes would light up,
Lose their
and
minds.
they would just lose their minds, kind of like this show
In the
now.
room where it happens.
The room where it happens. And I just I was young, I was fresh out of school, but I was really, really hungry. Still am hungry, but I was really, really hungry to just kind of expand myself. So I was just trying to find anywhere I could get it. I was just trying to find doors that would let me through. And there were people in the cast that were performing and doing their own music. So doing my own shows and stuff kind of started building from there. And I had a connection, and he was open to getting some of the castmates, because we all did our music, to do basically a medley of Hamilton music, and then after that we could do our own sets. And we split it up into 2 days on that weekend. The women went on Friday and the men went on Sunday. Um, and it was a VIP stage that they created solely just for us,
Wow.
for all the VIP folk. And it was crazy. I mean, it was at Lollapalooza. We had the star treatment. We had the things carrying us from driving us from place to place. As soon as we arrived, we did the medley was cool, but getting to perform my own music, and it was a good
Hmm.
amount of people. It was surreal. And then like right after, I'm hearing Meek Mill in the corner in the back of my ear and stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just crazy. It was a dream come true. Definitely something that made me aspire for more and want more. But yeah, that Lollapalooza experience was ridiculous. And then I still had to perform that weekend too. So I was back and forth.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
So happy that Chicago inspired you both. And you're, coming in from New York, which of course people talk about, how New York, pushes you. But it's good to
Oh
see
yeah.
that creatively Chicago can also have an impact and is also very positive for artists and creatives to come
Yeah.
and visit. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I hear thematically from both of your responses is a dedication to artistry and to craft. And clearly, without that, you probably would not have been selected for the important roles that you're playing in MJ the musical. So I want to commend you both on that artistry and craft. And of course, it leads and begs the question about, okay, so tour stop one, and maybe 6-9 months from now, end of the tour, what's next? What do your ambitions hold for each of you?
Brandon, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So once this is done, I do want to spend as much time as I can really focusing on my own artistry and my own art and my own music. Before this, I had plans to finish school and go to LA, and I did finish school, but I
Congrats.
thank you. something bigger was calling me, which I'm so grateful and just I'm glad to be here. And I'm this is a door that has opened for me that I never thought would open. And I know that it is only going to open so many more doors. So I want to be able to walk through them. I really want to be honing in on my craft, honing in on the sound that I want for myself. I'm very experimental with sounds. I love music as a whole. There's not a lot of genres that I'm like not a fan of. And so I really do want to, dip my toe in a lot of things. But yeah, after this, I'm hoping that LA is still the move and I can really go full force on the Brandon Harris train.
Woo!
Yeah, all right. And before we go to Jamaal, I just want to say thanks for being a house music fan. I heard you were
Listen,
really excited about that.
I love me some house music. The last record that I put out a house remix of a song. Like it's my heart. So yeah.
All right, we'll have to dig through the crates and get that track. Play it on the show. Over to you, Jamaal. Talk about your artistry and ambition.
Well, I'm a very people that know me know I'm a very ambitious person, maybe sometimes too ambitious. So I'm also a director, a writer, and a recording artist. So I have a short film right now that got into 2 indie short film festivals. I have a new one. Thank you. I have a new one that I'm finishing up currently right now for next year's festival season. So one thing I would love to get into more festivals with that one, particularly bigger ones. I'm just really trying to build my name as a filmmaker and a writer. I'm writing an assortment of different scripts for television and film. So hopefully once this strike is over and everyone is compensated fairly as they should be, hopefully I would love to start getting that off the ground. My acting career, I'm just looking to keep building my career. This is my second show in my career. I'm looking to the next role that I take on. I just want it to be something original and something that transcends on Broadway, whatever that may be. For television and film, I just want to be doing more television and film. That's always what I wanted to do as a kid. So yeah. Then for my music, I'm working on new sounds, like Brandon as well. I like to experiment, so I'm experimenting with a lot of new sounds, but looking to get a lot of music and visuals out by next year. So just hoping to keep growing as an artist and just knocking off more goals and accomplishments for myself, whatever comes.
Well, again, this being the kind of role that will certainly continue to catapult you both, we're going to be here rooting for you. We're honored that you took the time to, spend some of your time here in Chicago on this tour stop with the Vintage House Show. We're wishing you, much continued success, and looking forward to you, Jamaal, also keeping your toe dipped in the house music genre. Yes. So any of the music you put out, make sure you reach back to Chicago. We got plenty of talent ready to put that house music remix touch on anything you put out and produce. But thank you again. Lauren, any closing words for the gentleman?
Yeah, I'll just reiterate that we've got Grammy winning and Grammy nominated remixers and all coming from Chicago, working with the top of the line stars, Janet, Madonna, etc., all coming out of Chicago. Beyonce, Drake, etc. So that we're not as heralded. I think Chicago's very chill. We don't really, they're very chill. But yeah, I think keep that in mind for sure. Jamaal, Brandon, keep that in mind. And then also Broadway in Chicago, I think .com, if I'm not mistaken, Broadway in Chicago, you can get your tickets for MJ the Musical. It's here until September the 2nd, correct? Is that it?
Yes, September 2nd, 8 o'clock. That's our last show.
We're gonna start the campaign though to get it back.
Right, exactly.
Do a return stop at some
point. Get it going. We'll help you with the campaign.
All right, it's on.
Yeah, guys, I saw it in New York and I saw it here, and you all both phenomenal. And let me tell you, the world loves this show. It needs to be global. I can't wait for everyone to see that and experience your artistry, but also understand more about Michael Jackson and your portrayals.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you for having us.
Thank
Thank
y'all.
you.
All right.
Kev,
Well, yep. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Vintage House Show. We're here every Wednesday, 10 p.m. live broadcast, but you can catch us on demand and wherever you tune in to your favorite podcast. Thank you again to Brandon and Jamaal, and we'll be watching and rooting for you.
Thank y'all.
Thank
thanks,
you so
guys.
much.
Have a good show.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.